Welcome to All About the Girls. I'm your host, Jenny Craig Brown, here with a podcast that's all about empowering stories, laughter, and inspiration. Each episode, we dive into the lives of incredible women who share their journeys, passions, and unique qualities that make them shine. This podcast is your year-round pass to connect with the inspiring stories that make our community and our world a better place. So grab your coffee or your wine, settle in, and let's celebrate strength, spirit, and stories of amazing women. Welcome everybody to the April All About the Girls podcast. I'm so excited. Today we have Tricia Hall, Senior Director of Brand Strategy at NorthShoreHealth Centers. Many probably already know you, but if they don't, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you. I've known you for years. We've had some North Shore folks on the pod. Denise was on the pod long time ago.
Very beginning, I think.
I think, absolutely. She has to be like first 5. I should have looked at that. She's a speaker at the event. She was on the pod. Now we have Tricia on the pod. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you.
As we normally do, let's take it back. Tell us, we know obviously now you're at North Shore and you've got this incredible title we'll talk more about later, but tell us a little bit about you as a person. Where'd you grow up? What's a little bit about your background?
Okay, so I've been in Northwest Indiana now for 13 years. I originally grew up in southwest suburbs of Chicago. So with my parents and 3 siblings. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
Oh, wow. I don't think I even knew that.
No. Yep.
Because when I met you, it was probably about 12 years ago.
Yes.
And you weren't here that long.
Yes.
I had no idea. That's amazing. Okay, great.
So I met my husband, David, on Match.com.
Okay,
so,
even cooler. I didn't know that either.
And then I moved here with him. We actually got engaged 6 months after meeting, married 4 months after that. We got pregnant with my daughter, Abigail, on our honeymoon. So she is now...
This is like perfect storybook time. This is fantastic. Okay. And how old is she now?
She's 12.
Okay.
And then 18 months after that, we had our son, Nash. So he'll be 11 in a couple weeks.
Is that technically Irish twins? How does that work?
I think Irish twins are within 12 months, but close enough.
They're really close in age. That's cool.
Yes.
Do they get along because of that, or do they fight more because of that, do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like they've been able to be each other's friends, best friends for a while and always doing things together. Mm-hmm. But now it's a little bit more like they're in those preteen ages, and
we call those the angsty years.
butting heads all the time. So fighting over, they fight with me over doing their chores all the time. But so I just usually just like, okay, we're done. Cut it out.
You guys, please. Fantastic. So really just all of that fell into place and sort of panned out very quickly and sort of perfectly. Like within 4 years, you've got married, family, kids, the whole 9.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yes.
And you guys are living in Northwest Indiana, have been since. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned I was going to talk to you about this. I love this little tidbit. So tell us a little bit about your home life. I know you guys run a farm.
Yes.
But probably most don't know that. So tell us about that, the farm life.
Yeah. So my husband's grandparents worked and lived on a farm for 40 years. So it's kind of his passion. My sister-in-law actually has a farm across the way too. So
I didn't know that. Cute.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 18 acres. We have cows, goats, chickens, and donkeys right now.
Oh, wow.
And a little barn cat. We have had pigs before, but they're awful.
Treacherous. Are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just hard to handle.
Yeah.
I bet.
But yeah, I mean, it was his dream and I never anticipated. And people ask me all the time, like, did you ever think that you'd be knee deep in poop, manure? I'm like, no, not at all.
Really?
But it's been great for the kids, like it teaches them responsibility. It gets us out of the house every single day. They are really focused on the chickens. That's their chore. And some with the goats. But
easier to handle animals that don't weigh 10 times as much as them. Yeah.
But with the screen time increasing over, the last how many years, it's just a nice way to kind of get them away all the time. And even in the winter, like we have to go feed them every single day.
There's no day offs in farmland.
There's no getting out of it. So, and then, you kind of get like when get to have the babies and the calves are born and the goats babies are born, like just those are like those amazing moments of just like
teaching moment that you cannot buy.
Yeah.
Like that is something that you will not find in a book. Teaching that process as it happens to a kid that age is phenomenal. I bet and it's probably amazing to see, like you get to watch them see that. And it's probably so cool.
Yeah. So those are the fun pieces of it. Like and also like the fruits of your labor, you know, like you get to, you put all this work into these animals and then like they pop out a baby and then you get to play with it. And, you know, like, again, that's like this, we put this effort in and now here's what came of it. So
yeah, that's incredible.
You know, even collecting the eggs and having eggs. And there's so many times where, you know, David will be like, hey, we are having steak and eggs for breakfast. And this is our, you know, the fruits of our labor. Like we raised this cow and we, you know, got these chickens. So,
and I know that whole process of explaining, like, I know that the cow might become your friend, but it does have to be dinner at the end of the day. Was that tough for you guys as a family?
So when we, like the first round of having cows, the kids were pretty young. I want to say like 3 and 4, maybe. So we kind of just always talked about it in a way of like, if we were buying it at the store versus here, you know, now we're raising ourselves and, you know, they had a good life. And
we know they had a good,
and,
exactly.
I mean, funny story, the first cow that we ever bought for meat, my son wanted to name him Lucky. So,
well, buddy,
Lucky was, but like for, you know, the first year or so we were eating them, it was like, hey, we're having Lucky for dinner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they just kind of got used to it. And again, if you explain it in the manner of, hey, like, you know, again, we ethically raise them.
Yep. This is happening no matter what meat you're eating.
Yes.
But it's ethically raised and it had a great life and now is returning that to us.
Yes. And they got pets and we fed them well and they're feeding our bodies. So
I love that.
You know, you kind of get used to that mentality and it's not so, you know, most people are like, I can't believe you name your animals. And it's like, well, you know,
it is part of the process, I feel. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like,
and you're right. I mean, how long do you raise a cow before it goes turned into meat?
Typically about 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to kind of build a relationship with that animal at some degree. My sister and my parents had a couple animals that they raised. My parents live on a farm. They mainly lease it out now, but they did some cows and pigs back in the day. And same thing, my sister had really young kids and she had to teach them. And so they ended up naming, corny enough, their cows were lunch and dinner. And it was their way of kind of coping with that or understand like, hey, we do understand this. We kind of got to joke about it because it's not the easiest thing to handle as a 8-year-old or something like that, but it is real. And we do need to understand as a community where our food comes from. And I think it's best to learn so early because I think you're more appreciative and you're probably care a little bit more about what you're putting into your body. Yes. So that's really impressive.
Yep.
I love this farm life. It's so cool. And do you guys do like gardens as well?
We do.
Fruits, vegetables, anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always a work in progress. You know, every year we always do too much, like have too many things. We can't keep
tomatoes coming out of my ears.
Exactly. But it's fun. Like, again, it's like the fruits of your labor. Like we put the work into it. The weeds are awful all the time. But then it's like, cooking this, like my son hates zucchini, but he loves zucchini bread. So it's like, you get to make zucchini bread every single year. And,
yes.
So yeah, we try to.
Same thing, learning about their food and where it comes from and what they like and what they don't and all that stuff. And do the kids help with the garden as well?
They do. They hate it. Because it's the weeds. The weeds are awful.
The weeding
so they
is
hate
just
weeding.
Like the most
annoying.
They
do like to plant and honestly, it's my husband's joy. Like that's one of his like, de-stressors, like out in the garden. But yes, they have to weed. They water. So we, keep an eye on that every single year. And
it is hard. You guys, as a family, you probably want to travel here and there and do things like that. But you're right. Like a farm never rests.
Correct.
Do you hire people when you want to like go out of town? Do you have friends that can help? Like, does your sister-in-law come over or something like that?
So luckily my sister-in-law, again, is across the street. She's got her farm. So, we have traveled with them before, but, her father-in-law is really good at taking care of the animals and, they let him have his own animals on the farm for kind of free. And,
and in trade, he'll help you.
Yes. So, it's really hard to travel in the winter.
Absolutely.
Because you have to winter feeding is, taking hay out every 3 days or so. So we have to know
Oh.
how to use the tractor and where to put it and making sure they have water. So we, typically travel more in the summer, which
Yeah.
is fine,
Yeah, of course.
Of course. But the whole we're going away for Christmas is probably never happening for us, which is fine. We like our, our Christmases at home.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, we are lucky to have, we share equipment with them. So
I love this.
Yeah.
That whole, that's really the meaning or I think the base of it takes a village, right?
Yes.
And I think that is, you guys are coming together to raise your family and your farms, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And you guys all get along really well.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We're good
That's
to go.
fantastic.
Luckily too, as the kids are getting older, we've been able to do weekends away, and they stay with his mom, and they'll come and feed the animal. She'll bring them over, they'll feed the animals. So,
and then they're
they've
still
got
doing their part. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got it under control. So.
Oh, this is fantastic. I love it. Okay. Let's dive into, so you're in Indiana at this point, you've got kids. Now let's dive into a little bit about your career. So tell us a little bit, your title is Senior Director of Brand Strategy at North Shore Health Centers. I think most of our audience will know North Shore Health Centers, but if they don't, tell us just a bit about North Shore and then what you do within North Shore.
So North Shore Health Centers is a nonprofit community health center. We have locations across Northwest Indiana, over 20 locations, 4 counties, so Lake, Porter, LaPorte, and Jasper. Mm-hmm. So we have, a plethora of services, including medical, dental, vision, podiatry, chiropractic, mental health. So in being a health center, we're able to serve the community in ways that other medical centers might not be able to. We take Medicaid, Medicare, all insurances really. And then we have a self-pay option based on income. So, discounted services if you don't have insurance.
Okay.
And then we also have insurance navigators to help people, enroll for insurances.
Absolutely. We've used your insurance navigators before, and they are an incredible help. We offer that as something to our team that says, hey, if you want to go look at this and figure that out for you, these folks will help. And it has been immensely helpful. So that's something I think that you guys provide for the community that, number one, probably not enough people know about. And number 2 is just really, really helpful, because that's that's a scary world, right? Especially if you're not in it every day.
Yeah.
And so to have someone that can help walk you through any of that stuff you're going through and get you set up with some really good healthcare and really walk you through what the process looks like, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then let's talk specifically about your role. That's a big title.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit about what you do, and I know it's a lot. So tell us, you kind of control all of branding, marketing, kind of everything within there, correct?
Yeah. So, I started as just a marketing manager,
Sure.
And, moved up, over the 12 years, I believe that I've been there, or 11. So I have all the marketing, brand strategy is my more recent title. And that kind of came into play, as we've grown, we wanted to really brand the company, not only with our, logos. We've rebranded that a couple times. We recently rebranded our mission to be very inclusive, and our, core values, but also our buildings. So, as we grew, we wanted to make sure that the North Shore buildings throughout look the same. So, I actually have a brand manager underneath me, and we really work on the interior design, what a little bit of what the exterior is looking like, and making sure that that message throughout is very clear. We've even diving more into furniture. One day we hope to have the same look and feel of furniture
just
throughout.
Literally everything's cohesive, from the branding on the building to the branding in the building to the furniture, the look, the vibe. Everything is very similar, cohesive, and kind of along your mission.
Yeah. And then we have...
that's a lot of work in itself, especially at 20 locations. Geez. Yeah.
And then I also have the communication team underneath me, which, Denise is the director.
Yeah.
So you guys all know Denise. And the community relations team. So again, between all of that, making sure that just our message is the same and strong. And when you hear North Shore, you're you think the same thing, community health center, there for everyone, taking care of your needs from health all the way to, different services, even if it's helping out with making sure that you have housing or, those different types of things. So,
you guys really do touch so many aspects of a person's life, where if you think about dentistry and chiropractic care, I just would, I wouldn't assume that right away. And then you go into the mental health of it all, and then helping folks get really great insurance and helping them with that marketplace and things like that are just, you really do kind of full circle. It's like a hug from North Shore.
Yeah.
We can help you a little bit of everywhere. Yeah.
And we really try to partner with other organizations as well. I think even in COVID that got stronger, like working more closely with the hospitals to make sure that like we're handling, those primary care visits, and then they're handling more of like the surgeries and those other needs. So partnering with hospitals, partnering with YMCAs, partnering with other agencies to just like make sure that like we're tackling the communities that we serve together and from like all aspects.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it myself and working with you guys for so long. Just even if you think about kind of new moms or soon to be new moms, the programming that you have for those individuals where you're literally, and I think it's all free to go and learn about the changes to your body, what's going to happen with your family, what to expect, all of these things that a new mama is going to be real scared of. You guys have programs they can join with other new mamas to learn more and to be more included in the community and to take advantage of some of the programs and the offerings that are in the community that a lot of people don't know about. And I think, do you guys see, I guess that's a great question. Do you see, and what I've learned in my role here, probably most is so often there's all these programs, often through North Shore even, and then there's all these people in need. And how do you get the left hand to talk to the right hand? How do you get those people to know about the programs? Do you have marketing or branding things you've done to sort of help that? Like, how do we get these folks that need us to know about us? Have you guys struggled with that in the past, and how'd you combat it?
So we have departments that, like our care coordination department, we have an education department, community health workers. So those people are kind of like that gap between, seeing the doctor and what are my goals, but then also like helping again with like social determinants of health, helping if they have housing needs, or if they need a little extra education, like, whatever their goals are, these people like have that extra time to assist with that. So like where marketing comes into play, is, providing again, that branded material, providing, handouts that they might need, or even again, our communication department, like we recently built an intranet, so we call it Engage, so that we can make sure that there's resources on the Engage that then goes out to all of the staff so that the staff can better assist the patient.
Oh, fantastic.
So, and just communicating new things that are coming up. All of that is so important for the staff to know, so that they can better assist the patient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
so
then they can know all, because if they don't know all the things, then that patient's not going to know all the things. And so how can they know everything and give to each person individually what they need the most? Yeah.
And then like
you guys do a great job.
Something that we recently implemented last year was like a volunteer day. So
fun.
Yeah. Again, like it's just another way for the staff to be able to take 8 hours of their day, or break it up into 2 hours if they wanted to.
Sure.
But, just go and do something in the community that like I feel like a lot of the employees are passionate about what they do. And, in that passion, like the more you're involved in the community, the more passionate you get about it.
Yeah.
I feel for me, like the one thing that I loved about starting to work at North Shore was just getting that feel for the needs that are out there. Like the community, just the different things that you don't think about that does keep you from like taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And just, it's like that hub of, again, health, like what does that mean? So, we try our best to, again, educate the patient, educate the employees, give them that volunteer day, let them go be part of the community. Cause then it just like brings that like piece back to home for you.
Oh, absolutely. And then they feel probably really good about the company they work for, and they feel like they're making a big difference in the community they serve. And so those two together, that'll keep a team together forever.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really incredible. Let's talk about success. So, as an overall, if you think about your career and your personal life, how do you define success for you?
So success for me, I feel like I am a person that, it took time to get there, but like you kind of just got to keep going,
Yes.
I
keep one step every day, even if it's only one or a half one or just a little tiptoe, something forward.
Yes. Yeah. So, like I would consider myself a disciplined person, but I don't know that I always felt like I was one. But like over time, you just like, like I remember at one point after having my son, I think he was 5, I was like, okay, it's time to like get your health in order. Not that I had a horrible health, but
Right.
like your mom, you had 2 kids pretty close together, like you gained a little weight. So like I started like, okay, this is like my health journey, started working out. And it took me a couple of years to get like pretty disciplined to like work out, 5 or so days a week in the morning to get up in the morning, especially with everything that we have going on.
With a farm and 2 kids and a whole job and a whole family.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But like over time, like you just like kind of train your brain to be like, this feels good for you. And if you do it, you're going to feel better. So just suck it up, buttercup, and do it,
So well said. So well said.
So, I mean, I feel like, again, over time, like that's kind of what I've dug into and taught myself to do, like, being disciplined. I would say too, like I am a, self-help junkie kind of person. Yes. And, when like, if I get anxious about something, I like buy a book, like it's just kind of like, go buy a book.
What a great outlet. Yeah. I mean, some people drink whiskey and some people buy self-help books. And I'm just saying that latter one.
Enjoy a good drink once in a while too. But
maybe a little of both. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I think if you just keep telling yourself like, this is what makes you feel good.
Yes.
And you had, again, it's like a discipline in your brain, but like whatever that might be, whether it's again, reading your Bible or going to church or working out or reading a bunch of books. Like my daughter is 12, and she's starting to get in those teenage years and hiding up in her room. And I was just like feeling anxious about it, having all these memories of my childhood and like what I did at her age and like what's coming, and like started freaking out. And I just like, I bought a book and this book has been amazing and so helpful. And I'm like so much calmer now, just like, okay, what she's doing is normal. This is normal behavior for a 12-year-old girl. It's fine.
Okay. And, do you want to shout out the book? I bet a million other listeners want to.
It's called Untangled.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like the 7 stages that a teenage girl will go through.
Okay. Oh my gosh. This is such a good thing to think about or have. I'm glad you found it, because same thing. I remember me as a teenager, and in my 20s, I've said it on the pod before, I literally called my mom at like 22 and was like, that was pretty terrible from like 14 to like now. Like I am better now, but man, thank you for putting up with me and not, throwing me outside forever, because we were just angsty teenagers. We didn't know what we were doing.
I mean, yes. I mean,
life's hard at that time.
And it even talks about what she's feeling as an angsty teenager. Like, don't think for one second that she's not going to have moments where she thinks she's going crazy, it's written by a psychologist. So
phenomenal. Okay.
Who focuses on teens, and she uses a lot of different examples throughout the book. And some of them are like, so like real, like this is exactly what's happening in my life right now.
Yeah. Yes. Today, actually. Today.
And then I go back and tell David, I'm like, listen, like you have got to, and then, I mean, we recently had a conversation where he was like, okay, Abigail, mom's reading this book. And I just start laughing. Like, I love when David starts with mom's reading a book. But mom's reading this book. And I just want you to know that no matter what happens, you can always call us, so, and she's 12, like she's not even dealing with half the stuff. Yeah. But like in our heads, we're already in, like, she's 16 years old going to a party with like booze or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, not.
She's not. But now you're well prepared for it.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. But yeah, now, knowledge is power. So the more that in those moments of anxiety, like I just like, again, educate myself. And
it's a great way to deal with the anxiety of it all. And a great way to say, okay, it's almost like you're really good at giving yourself the answer. Like, okay, if I'm feeling anxious, so many people would say, I'm feeling anxious. Yeah, let's have a beer. I'm feeling anxious. Let's take a nap. I'm feeling anxious. I'm going to be anxious. You are so good at, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I'm going to figure out a solution.
Yes.
And that's good for the soul. Yes. Like, just because you're not, I think if you're looking for the solution so quickly, you're not going to kind of sit in it so long.
Right.
For our International Women's Day episode, Ashley mentioned, don't sit in it. Like, that was her advice to women. It was just, don't sit in it. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have bad days. But if you just sit in it, it's going to make everything worse.
Mhm.
If you turn the sit in it into a solution, I mean, geez, now we're
Yes.
10 steps ahead. That's fantastic.
Yep.
So we always talk on this podcast about challenges. Tell us about some hard times you faced, whether that be in your career or personal life, and how did you overcome those?
I feel like this is such a hard question because like I feel like I'm a blessed, very blessed human. But I, I almost feel guilty at times.
Okay.
Like,
My problems aren't big enough.
Yeah, my parents are both living. I haven't really dealt with a big, trauma related to like,
Sure.
someone passing in my life. I have, a husband who supports me. We're financially stable. I've got great kids, a good career, but that doesn't, because there's been so many people in my life who are like, hey, just because like someone else is dealing with something else, that doesn't negate what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. Everyone's dealing with everything all the time. And so there's always going to be someone with a bigger problem and always someone with a smaller problem. And that's okay.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you don't have a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say like the thing that I've struggled with the most, but it's gotten me to the place that I'm at, is just like moving to Northwest Indiana. Like I moved in with David. It was, his house, his family, like his environment, his surroundings, which was fine. Like it wasn't a problem until it became a problem.
Sure.
We both work at the same company, which is, fun.
She didn't use air quotes on that fun, but fun. We'll talk more.
So it was like never actually really a conflict because like our paths didn't cross until he became CEO.
I see.
So,
and he worked with the company prior to becoming CEO. What was his title then? I don't recall.
I mean, he's had many, but when I started there, he was a site director.
Okay.
And again, his aunt, if people don't know, his aunt was the one who founded the company.
Sure.
So I basically didn't on paper report to her because of, again, being the relationship, but like for the most part, like reported to her doing marketing.
So you didn't really have to worry about it.
Nope. He did his part. He was more operations and, facilities, purchasing, and I was like marketing. So, but he became CEO early 2020. 3 months later, we dove right into COVID.
Can't imagine.
So brand new CEO, brand new team, his team of people. I went home to work remotely, handling 4 children, my 2 children and my 2 nephews. And like kind of at that point, it was like, I don't want to, not to be rude, but like forgot that I worked there. So like, cause then it was like a whole new team of people and chiefs and they're trying to prove themselves to him and he's trying to prove himself probably to himself.
Yeah. And everybody watching.
Dealing with, like a worldwide pandemic that like would mean not having a clue how to handle that situation. So, like I worked under an older man that, like it got to this point of where like, I just felt like I was like losing myself basically.
Yeah. Well, you're at home, you're trying to teach 4 kids school while they do remote schooling and do your whole job during a pandemic.
Yes.
How am I supposed to communicate candidly anything?
Yes.
And it's all for the company, which is now your husband. And that's, I can only imagine you felt lost.
So
that's tough.
Yeah. And then, he's stressed out because of what he's dealing with coming home. And I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. He's dealing with but his problems feel bigger to both of us, Sure. So, I mean, I've learned something about myself when I get angry. It makes me do things like, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm mad. We're going to make something happen here. So
again, you go right to the solution.
Exactly. So I was, like I was getting frustrated and I was like, I'm going back to get my master's degree. So, looked into schools, got started on a master's program in June of 2020.
Wow.
Yep. And which was really good timing because like the marketing world has changed,
Absolutely.
Like it's evolving, it's online. And it's even more online ever since, during
that pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I took 2 years to get my master's degree and, I still took time to have to like figure out like who I was and all that, but, it's been challenging. I've got a husband again who sometimes feels like the weight of the world is on his shoulders with being the CEO of that company. And he's already got a pretty strong personality as is.
Yeah.
So, just kind of figuring out who I was again as a person. And I didn't even know I lost myself until I lost myself, if that makes sense.
That makes 100% sense.
So
it's like you're already like, wait, I'm gone. And now I don't know how to come back because I didn't even know I got here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really tough.
So I actually started counseling, to be honest with you. And there was a moment in my counseling where she was like, so like, you're going to get your degree soon. And like, you have the farm and like, what's next for you? Like, what do you like about, like, she's just like probing. Right.
Sure.
And, I'm not going to cry, Jenny.
No crying today.
She's like probing. And so finally she was just like, so like, what do you want? And like, I didn't have an answer. Like, I couldn't.
Shocking to even hear the question.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell her what I wanted out of my life. Like, I had no idea.
Because I think especially as a mom, you're working for your kids, you're working for a company, you're working for the farm, and now you're working for your husband.
Yes.
All of those are not at all about you.
Right.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So I like went home and like made this little list, and it was like, go on a girls trip, take my kids back to Disney, let them play sports. Like, and my David was like, I don't think that's what she meant. I'm like, I know what she meant, David. Like, I know what she meant. Like,
I didn't ask for your opinion.
We're starting with this, like this is what I have.
Yeah,
surface level.
You got to start from somewhere, and then that'll help you dive in a little deeper. Okay.
Yes. So like we started there, and I mean the sports thing was just like, David's not a huge sports fan, and he does like there's families out there that make it their whole lives. But
absolutely.
We make
like
the farm
travel ball is a whole world in itself. Yeah.
Yes. But we make the farm life our whole life.
Sure.
So like it's just a matter of like what's your interest in. So now my daughter's in gymnastics and my son's in soccer, and it's just their thing. Like they're able to have a thing, and David has a thing, and
and then the farm can still be everyone's thing, but then we all have our own thing too.
Yes.
And do you feel like you found a thing in all of that? Or is it really just nice because the kids are at soccer practice?
I do. So one of the things that I got involved in, and again, it was like I needed to have something that wasn't David's thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You just need your thing. That's really about you.
So through, I started being, I'm a board member on the YMCA in Portage.
Great one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of happened again through COVID. So, good things came out of COVID, guys, believe it or not. But so I was remote for 3 months, and then the Y went and had summer camp, and the kids went back with masks on, but they were so tired of being at home. They were happy to go back with masks on. But then when school started again the following year, it was like in and out, based on the numbers, the COVID numbers, in and out. So I was like, I was back to work. I'm like, so what am I going to do now? Like, what am I going to do with my kids?
Yeah.
So the Y was able to implement a program where they brought together 2 different churches in the area, got volunteers, had their staff. And for the kids that were in the Y program, they implemented a virtual learning environment for them. And that was so much of a stress reliever for me. Like I was so you guys saved my life,
Yeah.
Because the virtual programs were built for people at home.
Yes.
Whether it was grandma's taking them or,
Yeah. We've talked internally about that a lot because same thing. We were remote for 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. And then we slowly started coming back. And again, we would just kind of fall as we needed to, where we needed to. But it was hard we didn't have very many moms at the time, but even producer Cammie, she was a mom. And it's just okay, she had, I'm using strong air quotes around the luxury of, her and her husband work different shifts. So that helped them try to figure that out. But her husband still has to sleep. And so he can't do school all day and work all night. And then when do you sleep? And then, if I sleep while you're at home, that I'll see you next year. And it's just really hard for moms to figure that out. And I think so often it was kind of placed on the mom because the male in the relationship or the dad or the other person is the bigger job or the higher income or the can't be remote. So it kind of falls on you. And that's just another piece of responsibility that you don't have room for on the plate.
Yeah. And
I bet that was such a nice.
It was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even though that happened, it was still rough because my kids were like first and second grade, they're learning to read.
You don't even think about that.
So, they were still going to the Y and doing this program, but you've got volunteer people in the community.
It's still not the same teaching environment.
Like different teacher, like different age group children, different teachers that they're dealing with, different platforms that they're using. And
messy.
So like the kids did the best that they can, but then I pick them up at 4:30, coming home, and they're like 7 things they didn't get done. So we spend the next hour and a half, to a few hours that night, catching them up to start it all over again.
I do not envy parents through the pandemic at all.
No,
I think it was so tough.
It's funny. My son is awful handwriting.
You're like, this is from that remote time you didn't practice?
Well, it was.
I bet it was.
Like he.
Absolutely.
Like it's pretty common for kids to like switch their letters back and forth. And he still a little bit struggles with that. He's in 5th grade. He started like fixing it by like doing some of the letters that he's like the common letters are like B and D and like using capital for one and like lowercase for the other. So like we've worked through it, but like every year, like next grade, I'd be like, is this normal? And they're like, oh, they grow out of it by 3rd grade. Oh, it's 4th grade. They still grow out of it. And I met with his 5th grade teacher and she showed me this like one paper that he had. And it was a mess. It was math. Like it was just like all over the place. He wrote his name at the bottom. And I was like, kind of brought up this like dyslexia that's not quite dyslexia piece of things. And so I asked him about it and he was like, well, like, it was math and he likes to do math in his head. He doesn't even want to do paper, but like she wanted him to write out his
problems.
Your work. Yeah. And he's like, I wish it was like a whiteboard. And I'm like, oh, like they were virtual learning and they're doing the whiteboard and they show it to the screen. And so like, now this year, how many years later? I'm like 5 years later, I'm like, okay, you write your name at the top of the paper and you have to write on the lines, this is, but like this whole little
things that no one reinforced because they're not watching over a shoulder day to day and noticing all of those little things.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to catch them all at 7 o'clock at night.
Yes. But like when I said it to her, like about like the COVID and like learning and like they learned to like write letters with their fingers. Like that's how they were practicing. And she just kind of was like had like this light bulb moment. And I'm like, she's like, because like, some of the other kids, I'm like, yeah, this is your 1st grade class.
Yeah.
COVID.
It's
like,
your COVID kids.
This is your COVID kids. Yeah.
And I heard from a friend that's a teacher that a lot of the kids that were learning to read at that age are now a little behind on their reading by like a full grade level.
Yeah.
Just because same thing. You're not working together with a class of your peers on the same thing. And it's harder then to learn. So then you're trying to learn this. Child is trying to learn while mom's trying to work and you just can't do both things at the same time and catch all of those errors and help him get to where he needs to be or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. But also reading stopped being fun. Like that's another problem. Like because we were coming home and we were doing all this work. So now it's like 7 o'clock and like I've read to my kids at bedtime since they were babies, but then like now we're 1st, 2nd grade and they're like, oh, to read a book? Like we don't want to read. And we're like,
yeah. So and we've been reading because we're not getting the class engagement time.
Like
and
reading
we've been reading because it's part of what we have to do now, not fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and for your kids, have they bounced back? It sounds like from most of that.
Yeah,
he's got a couple of the letter switchings, but otherwise.
Yeah, like we're still working on that for the most part. But again, like I'm also a very like on all over them mom. And I can't imagine what other parents that, might have different situations or like you said, shift work, like what they might be dealing with their kids. Again, it's
tough. And it's crazy to think you're right. 5 years later, we're still coming out of that.
Yeah. And the technology piece of it too, like them being stuck on tech, like we went from never having iPads in the house to like
now we have to have
iPads. A lot of their learning has transitioned to being like testing online and taking virtual test or like online tests or computer tests. So So kind of got off topic, but like the YMCA, just it opened my eyes to like what they did for the community. Like they met the community where they were, and that's like what reminds me of North Shore, like meeting the community where they are. Like what is the community dealing with? But it just like opened my eyes to they were so much more than a gym. They're so much more than like a health center or childcare.
Sure.
Like they stepped it up, and then we actually joined North Shore, joined a partnership with them as their medical provider. And the CEO, Shannon, asked if there was anyone at North Shore who wanted to be on the board. And I was like, I'll join the board. So like, that's become my passion.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it probably ties in well with your health journey. It probably ties in well with I've seen how much they can impact the community. So I want to give back to that too. And it can be your thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, and honestly, like, again, talking about, having it hard to work with my husband, I feel like when I'm at the Y, like I'm just confident and I know what I'm talking about. And I feel like I'm respected there, which is a good feeling. Like,
yeah. And you're you.
Yes.
And you get to be you. And you don't get to
me.
be David's wife, and you don't have to be the mama. You really get to be Tricia.
Yes.
Just Tricia.
Just Tricia.
And that's great. Yeah.
So yeah, that's I'm like year over year, like I started doing the turkey trot there. So I do that every single year, sometimes with the kids, sometimes without.
Yeah.
David did it one year. Me and Nash were the only one who did it last year, but just like that's their biggest fundraiser. So, and
it's kind of ran around you this time. So then if the kids join, they're joining you, or if David comes, he's joining you, and it's your thing.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that you've kind of found that, and it's your space, and it sounds like you get along well with Shannon, and you really like the space and the people. And that's really important.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, this brings me back to talking about all of those things. It brings me to the next question perfectly, is managing all of that, if you will. We usually, we always say work-life balance. Well, we don't really say that a ton here because we just everyone laughs at it. Like everyone knows that's just not realistic. But how do you balance all of that or manage all of that in a way that works for you? If you think about kids and schoolwork and home life and personal life and passions and the why and what you want to do, but you still have a job, how do you balance or manage all of that and make it all happen?
Again, I feel like it goes back to like the discipline piece of it, and just like getting wrapped around in your brain. Like these are the things that have to happen. But I think too, that it's kind of creating those expectations for yourself, for your husband, for your kids.
Absolutely.
Like I said, our kids have chores, but there's times where I still feel obviously overwhelmed as a mom. Sometimes walked all over.
Yeah.
But I put those expectations on the kids. And sometimes it's like, again, if I use my anxiety as a way to drive me, we do have a cleaners come once a month. I'll be
super smart
honest with you. Like,
well, if you can just pay someone instead of trying to figure out how to do it yourself, it's going to take the stress off of you, and it's totally worth it. Absolutely.
But
plus once a month, that's not too bad.
But I mean, if anyone, Denise always teases me, do you guys clean for the cleaners? I'm like, absolutely, we clean for the cleaners.
I would have guessed that as well. That's who you are.
But I mean, that just means straightening up. So we straighten up the house so that they can clean the house. But I mean,
then you guys can all pitch in for 10 minutes probably and get it all just spruced up real quick. And then they can make such a bigger impact.
Yes.
Yep.
But the one thing that, reminds me of this is that the kids had they're not into toys as much anymore, but there's a bonus room upstairs that we call the toy room.
Sure.
And when the cleaners were coming, I got to go clean the toy room. It was awful. And it got to this point where I'm like, this is stressing me out. Like, I'm done. You guys are going to clean this toy room before the cleaners come. I'm not doing it anymore. And what happens now? They keep it cleaner because they don't want to deal with the stress of cleaning the toy room.
What a phenomenal outcome, though. They have learned they don't want to do that, so we're just not going to make it a crazy mess.
Yes.
All right.
Again, putting those expectations on them that you're part of the family too, and what is that expectation, and keeping them somewhat disciplined, because it's hard to do. As moms, we just tend to do it ourselves. It's easier to do it myself, and we still do too much. But you get to that. Even David sometimes, I'm like, dude,
pick up your socks or whatever.
Whatever it is. I don't. ever let you down. So like it's your turn, you know, like, so you
holding everybody else accountable to the standard that you hold yourself to,
Yes.
it sounds like, and expecting the same from them as you give them. And
Yes.
I think even with kiddos, that's fair. I mean, moms literally make sure kids stay alive and get all the things they need, whether it's food, water, care, hugs, snuggles, work, help, homework help, whatever it is. And not all, obviously, I don't want to diss any dads that do the brunt of the work, but
Yes.
in most cases, I think you're absolutely correct. And holding them to the same standard, like, hey, I'm literally doing everything for you. And what I need you to do is these. And I think that I'm finding in 2025 that people need hard things. You need hard things to be happy. I think that's probably a great part about your journey of work, like your health journey. Like the fact that you get up every day and work out, there's probably not a single day where you rise out of bed and you're like, yay, today I'm going to get up at 6:00 and work out, or 5:30 or 5 a.m., whatever we do. But you're happier when you're done with it.
Yes.
And I think that's probably something that those kids are going to learn from the lesson with the playroom.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if it's cleaner, my life is better, and I'll just pick up a little along the way. And it's like teaching them that kind of responsibility early and holding them all accountable for what you do.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, we still do too much. Parents, women, I do that here. Is it easier for me to just do it by myself? I'm getting out of it. Everyone's helping, Cammie included. I'm trying so hard. Even today, for example, I normally would come in, an hour before the podcast recording and make sure Cammie's good and make sure I have my stuff and make sure I brush up on our guest and I make sure all of this looks right. And today I came down here when you came and I knew Cammie had it all. And I had my questions because she set me up really well and I didn't have to double check anything. And I probably a year ago would have double checked it anyway. But number one, I got to trust my team. Number two, I can't do it all. Like I really can't do it all. And number three, it is not better for you to just do it. It's really not.
Yeah,
like you've got to trust your team. You got to trust your fam, whoever it is. You can't really just do it all yourself. And yeah, maybe it'll technically be faster, but we have to stop saying that because I will do it faster and potentially even better. And it's still a detriment to me. So it's not actually better that way. And I think same with kiddo life or home life as a whole, whatever your home life looks like, that's a big deal. Because I don't know why that's a thing with women so often. It's like, well, it's just faster. I'll do it better. Yeah. So then I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself is probably something we tell ourselves no less than 4 times a day.
No, I feel like I learned that lesson well as a mom and also like as a manager and a boss, like the hard conversations or it's hard to discipline your children. It is. Yes. There's so many times where I'm like,
but you're so cute. And you're so sweet and I want to snuggle you.
Yeah, but I don't want to ground you because it's also going to be awful on me if I ground her for a week because she's going to be following me around the house, because I'm on board. So
she knows it's going to be annoying and she might get out of it, right? Yeah.
But I have had to go and talk myself. And we had a situation not too long ago where she lied. And I went and took a shower and I'm like in the shower talking myself into, you need to ground her, and I didn't want to do it. But it's got to teach them a lesson. Like that's the better outcome.
That's the parenting of it all. Yeah.
And again, the same thing with managing, like you're talking about. I mean, when I first started managing, I was managing entry level. And I remember just having a conversation with a guy that worked for me who got to work late, every single day. And I'm like, oh my God, you have to be on time.
Just can't do that.
You have to be on time. And it was just such a simple conversation of what time are you leaving the house? This time. Okay, you need to leave the house this time. Well, that means I have to take the earlier bus. Then take the earlier bus, you know?
Absolutely.
And then, but you don't, it's oh gosh, I have to have the conversation with this person. I don't want to do it. They're going to be mad at me. I'm going to hurt their feelings. And it's no, it's better for them. They're going to learn to be more professional. You're going to teach them for the next job or future role, a life skill.
Absolutely.
This is what's better for them. And if you don't have those conversations, it's hurting them and you. So you just have to remind yourself.
Well said.
Yeah.
It's harder. It's so hard, but you're right. And I've tried to learn more how to take the emotion out of it. Cause you're right. Like I think all of those things. I think about how their feelings are going to be and what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And am I going to say it? How can I just say it in a way that removes all the emotion? Okay. You're getting here late. Exactly what you said. What time are you leaving? Okay. Well, that's not early enough. You need to leave earlier. Okay. Well, all these things ensue. Great. That's okay. Yes, you were correct in all fronts. That means you just still need to take the earlier bus.
Yes.
I think that just makes a ton of sense. And so I really give it up to people who in any situation could just remove the emotion and say, no, but that's not what friends do. Or no, but that's not what and team does for the team. Or that's not what kiddos do. You're not supposed to lie. You're not, and it's just removing the emotion is probably the hardest part for me because I care. And sometimes I'm mad, or sometimes my feelings are hurt, or sometimes I know I'm going to hurt your feelings. Whatever it is, you're going to have an emotional response to what I say or give. And so I am nervous about that emotional response. But you're right. If you could just remove the emotion and just say, hey,
or change the
facts of it is.
Yeah. Like I know that this is going to be better for them. I'm teaching them to be better. Like they're going to have a better outcome. Or again, like
they're going to be better humans.
Yes. You can ask anyone who ever works for me. I am never about, like, I'm always about what's best for you professionally. And I'm training you to be better for this job and or a future job. And if it's a future job, then so be it. You got to do what's best for you. And yes, like having those tough conversations that I probably lose sleep over at night before having them, but like you have to have them otherwise. But like if you change your mindset of it's better, it's going to be better for them. They're going to grow professionally. And then ultimately, yes, be better for you as you have a better employee.
Yeah.
But like make it about them, make it about their growth and their future and their professionalism. And then it helps you have those conversations.
Yeah. Well
still
said.
Suck, but
no, they do. I am really trying to make them not, but they just do. I don't know how to, I don't think we can turn that off yet, but I think it is just, removing or changing the emotion to just not be negative. Like, hey, we're just going to have this conversation. And what I've learned is no matter the conversation or how it goes, there's very seldom a time I don't feel better after. And so I've tried to get into a mode of being excited because no matter the conversation, I'm going to feel better after. And that's okay. And if that's all I can bring out of it is afterwards, we will all be better. That's okay. That's a pretty good, jump. So let's do that. And I think that helps just the stomach ache before you go into the conversation. I think that's good. And tell us about those moments of doubt, because I love the way you use those anxious moments to say, and that's going to help me figure out an answer. Are there ever moments where you just doubted yourself or felt really burned out? And how did you flip that?
I think with like doubting myself, the best advice I can give is like just really taking the time to figure out like who you are as a person and like what do you believe. And I think that like that's definitely something, again, going back to like moving in with David and his life and in North Shore, and like losing myself. But like I've always been a person that like I pride myself on like my professionalism and like respecting others, but like you don't always get that back from other people. And then that would kind of make me again doubt myself and like, did I make the right decision? And like, should I be stronger? Or should I be more, demanding like David? And like I had to figure out what I believed and like who I was as a person. And it takes time, and it's probably like still a journey that's going to continue happening. But like over time, you do end up just like getting more of a like, no, I know I'm right about this. So like, I'm just going to stand my ground and I don't have to yell or be a jerk. I can still live in my professionalism and have that like straightforward conversation, but like, I am going to have that conversation. So yeah, like that's it's taken time. I've, one thing that like, I feel like really changed like a moment in me is I read Melinda Gates's book. It's called The Moment of Lift.
Okay.
And it's like uplifting women.
I love this. I want to check it out immediately. I've not heard of it.
But like what I loved about it is the point of the book was not, it's like literally called like uplifting women or something like the little, tagline. But the point of the book is that if you take a society and lift everybody to like an equal position, you're going to uplift the whole society.
Sure.
And over time, I don't know if you know a lot about the Gates Foundation, but they're really into like public health. So she goes all over the world and like helps women, to get birth control and vaccines and, different things like that. But like she talks about all these different like societies that she visited, and over time realized that women are the ones that need more of a lift. And if you lift them, you're going to bring up the whole society. But it like really gave me like a different perspective on just like, again, like women's rights and women's health and like just empowering women. And that kind of shifted how I believed in things. Like I, grew up Christian. I still 100% believe in God, and read my Bible multiple times a week.
Good.
But I had to like figure out what God was for me and not like how I was raised. And then again, I had to figure out like what I believed compared to David. He's very traditional and he has like these traditions, and, Chris loves that about him.
Yes. That's like him. They're like besties for that. Yeah. Based on that. Yeah.
But like, and like going back to women and getting like, I'm a mom and that's like my identity. I feel like what I had to do is kind of get to the point of where like, I just knew who I was, and that makes me a better mom. Like,
yes,
there's moments now where like, again, my kids are getting in that age where they're starting to like be little people and they have their own anxieties, and Dave and I have a stressful life. We really do. I mean,
you guys are always dealing with a lot.
Always dealing with something, and whether it's like cows running at you and you're screaming at each other, but like me working on myself and knowing who I am just lets me be real to my kids, and that's what makes me a better mom. Like, I've taken up running a little bit. I'm not good at it. I have, orthotics and bad feet, but like it has become a stress reliever for me. And like, I'll get up and work out in the morning. And like the one day Abigail was like, well, like, this happened. And then I heard mom singing in there. And then Nash was like, I like when mom sings. And like, here I am working out with my earbuds in, and I'm like singing at the top of my lungs while I'm working out. And like, but my kids just saw me in that moment. You know what I mean? Like I just had a raw, real moment. And, but that's just,
and they like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Like sometimes I'm anxious and I'm stressing and I'm yelling at them. And then I'm like, okay, bud, I'm sorry. Like I had a rough day and I'm stressed out at the moment, and it's not about you, and I'm sorry. And like, that's okay. You can be like real to your kids and just be like, I didn't mean to yell at you. I'm just having a moment,
Yeah.
So,
and it teaches them so much in that moment of not everyone's going to act exactly as they hoped that they do. And people can apologize, and it's a good thing, and you should. And all of those things of when you don't act the way that you hoped you would, then you come back and you have that conversation, and all of those things. I think I've mentioned before on the podcast, we didn't as a family, like have very many of those growing up. We didn't, I think, cause my family's a little bit more old school. And my parents are really young, but I just think they were brought up a little bit more old school, and we didn't really have the awkward conversations, and we didn't have a lot of the tough conversations. And I think it's just helpful for kids to see their parents sometimes in a vulnerable state. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you don't want your kids to walk on you or whatever you could say to that, but I think it helps them see you're a real human, and how to act as an adult. Correct. And how it's not going to be perfect. They just get so much more input when you're real with them that I think they do when you try to be perfection.
Yeah. I think like one thing that is different in the way I'm parenting, even with like versus David a little bit, again, that traditional, that old school where like, children shouldn't be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And, like there's a lot of times where David's like, well, because I said so, because I'm the dad. And I'm like, you can't say because you said so. You have to tell them why, because if you don't tell them why, you're not teaching them anything. And like, we need to teach them to like, I don't just throw them out there. Like when they're teenagers, I'm like, good luck, or when they start
because I said so no longer applies, and it literally goes away immediately.
Because you're not teaching them anything.
But then, we're supposed to learn the lesson, but that stops when I move out.
I mean, even with like the farm stuff, like Nash is like me. He gets very anxious and like, and I've told Dave before, I'm like, when you're yelling, no one's hearing you. Like, no one's learning a lesson. Yeah. I realize it's stressful. You got cows running at you. Like, our goat likes to headbutt you all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you have to stay calm and explain what's happening here, because if not, no one's learning anything. And
they're just in a state of panic.
Yes, in a state of panic. And I'm like, I've told them many times, like, my brain falls out when you're yelling at me.
So, I'm just spinning.
Yeah.
At some point.
Just like, like the cow, like sometimes cows just go crazy, and like, and he's like, you got to hear. And I'm like, yes, but also like, you have to remember that like we have, if we learn, we're all going to be better. Again, like that moment of lift, like if we are learning, we're going to be better helpers to you, and there won't have to be as much stressful yelling, because we're going to know what we're doing. So I've told Nash before, like, I get where you're coming from. I know that like you get nervous and you panic. You're not, comprehending what Dad's saying. I'm like, so what you have to do is like, you have to teach yourself. Again, knowledge is power. You have to teach yourself and learn and pay attention and listen to Dad, so that you know what to do in those moments. No matter what he's saying, you know what to do in those moments, and then you won't be freaking out,
Yes.
So just like,
I think that's so well said. The lift is a great way to put it. And it could be used in so many different ways too, because that's what we need. It's just a little lift, just a little info, just the why. The why is so important. I'm learning that too, because I was very much raised in because I said so, go outside until I call you back in sort of life. And I think that was just, it was so normal to me growing up, but I never knew the whys. And so I think having those now, I'm learning I didn't have them. Therefore, I probably didn't request them very much. And now people request them, and it's so confusing. And I'm like, why do you need to know the why? I don't even understand.
Now you know.
But now I know. Yeah. And I think it's also helpful for me. I just didn't know to even ask. And I was brought up that way. So I just didn't have it in me to even ask. But the why is so helpful. And I think what I'm learning when you're working with humans outside of your family, like when they know the why, they're so much more invested. And that can mean a lot. I mean, we're promoting our 2025 All About the Girls. Get your tickets. June 12th. And there's a lot of our team who, I could go yell at them. You didn't make the post right. But what I stopped this year and said was, they've never even heard of the event. So yes, I can be mad, but this gentleman in this case, he started 3 months ago. He's literally only knew this was a podcast probably. I'm doing a poor job at communicating to them ahead of time, telling them about the event itself, telling them the why this is so important, what our mission is with this All About the Girls event, what we're doing here. Because if he doesn't know why, he's not going to make the post right. Of course not. I'm crazy for expecting that. Yes. And I think it's a real tough learn, as I'm finding. But I think it's a really good one. Yeah. And it seems like you found it early on, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. And then the other thing you asked about was burnout. And I think that, again, staying disciplined and structured helps with that.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people talk self-care. And I think that when you're thinking of self-care, you need to make sure that it's like productive self-care, if that makes sense. Like, sure, go get a massage. Sure, do things that like you enjoy. But again, the working out or reading the books, like that self-care that kind of is deeper and like is going to take care of your mind, take care of anxiety, whatever, even, going to a counselor, like,
yeah, absolutely.
Pretty common, and it's great. And the judgment's not like it used to be.
No,
so,
goodness, no. I think everybody realizes now, like everyone should probably have a therapist or a counselor of some sort, and just someone to talk to that's a neutral party. Yep. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Yes.
I agree. But like that self-care that's going to, again, really like touch you deep, get in your soul, help you with like in a long-term way.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I'm really good at that. Like I do forgiveness workbooks.
You're like, so good at this. Like, I want to be you. I do not work on myself.
What is going to make my brain not go crazy?
Yeah. It sounds like your brain is that one that
doctor, like, like making sure you're healthy. Like if you're feeling like something's not right, like
go
get
check
some
it
blood
out.
work and make sure that like you are okay. And even just like knowing that you're okay and this just might be a moment in time or, you know, like a season, then, but like, yeah, like I've done that too. Like, if I'm not feeling great, something's like, just, okay, you're fine. You're good. I'm like, all right, then I just gotta
feel a little better about that.
You know, like I'm calmer. There's nothing physically wrong with me. So,
so I'm just going to have to check my brain out next and figure it out. Yeah. No, but I do think that is, it's just like, okay, if a season is a great way to put it. Maybe this is just a tough season because we're coming out of winter and I had a friend just tell me the other day something, she's turning 40 this year. And she said something about, well, I need old lady makeup. And I was like, what?
Yeah, me too.
You don't smoke, you don't drink very much. Like you look pretty young. Who told you that? Like, I don't, why? And she's like, well, I just feel like I listen to TikTok. Okay. Stop listening to TikTok, number one. But also, we have to remember that we live in Northwest Indiana and it's been really cold and not very sunny for 3 weeks or 3 months. And you're coming into spring. So all of a sudden it's a little nicer and a little warmer and you step outside and you look all crazy. Well, that's not because you're old lady or you're not old lady makeup or whatever. It's really because we don't get a lot of sun and we are coming into spring and there's more sun. And so we feel this kind of juxtaposition or the separation from it. And you're like, okay, well, my skin's a little pale and I probably don't look the greatest because I haven't had enough vitamin D and all of those things. It's not about old lady makeup. I hope. I mean, I'm certain at some point, but you're not even 40 yet. Calm down, you know? And I think that's, it's just all of the influence from the whole world that we get that, you got to turn some of it off.
That's true.
It's just hard. So let's talk about you outside of work. We've talked a little bit about the farm, which I love. So thank you for that. What are some of your passions outside of work? It sounds like the Y is a really great one. Do you have any other passions or do you like to craft or do anything like that you haven't mentioned already?
I'm crafty. I honestly, like, I love a good book. Like, reader. I can be a homebody. For sure.
And do you there's a lot of office team members that count their books for the year. Do you do that?
I don't. Cause like there's times where like you can pick up a book and like knock it out in a week. And then there's other times where I'm like, I'm so like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like I used to like to take baths and read. And now like, I just want to fall asleep when I do that. And so,
I'm the same.
The reading has become like, I got to do it where I'm a little more stimulated.
Sure.
But
you get into that self-help. Then you can,
I love puzzles. Okay. I like an old lady, like books and puzzles.
Puzzles are fun. I like puzzles too. And I think the reason is, this is why all of this stuff is considered old people, because as we get older, we like to just chill and sit around a table and chat, but we're also still hyper enough that we need something to do.
Yes.
And a puzzle is a perfect example of something where we can all kind of BS and chat and have a good day or recap the day or whatever that looks like and be doing something to keep us busy. And I think it's good for your brain and it's good for your relationships and those people that are in that puzzle life with you or whatever it is. And then you create something cool too, which is also, the outcome is really rewarding as well. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. So kind of can be a homebody, but also I've kind of, and again, I think this a little bit comes from, you know, David being his traditional self, but like with the kids, it's just kind of like, I will probably try anything, honestly. So
I love that.
There's definitely times where, you know, he wants to do his traditional vacations or whatever. And the kids are like, I want to try this. I'm like, all right, want to swim with dolphins? Let's do it. You know, like
cool.
I sometimes have to, you know, drag him kicking and screaming, but like he ends up thanking me later and enjoying it.
I was just going to ask if he did. That's good.
If I had more time, I think I would like kayak. I really like, we've done a couple kayaking things on like vacations and loved it. So
my husband and I have kayaks. If you ever need them, let me know. We will bring them down. You can borrow them, take them out. Yeah, that's a good one. I really like kayaking, especially we're only about 10 miles from the Tippecanoe River. And so we could just pop in really quick on the weekends and stuff. And it's really fun. We've got Bass Lake by us as well. So yeah, that's a really good one. I would definitely suggest it. I think Chris and Natalie just got kayaks last year for the same reason as it's something we could do together. It's not super crazy hard, but we could make it hard if we wanted to. And we can just paddle around the lake and enjoy a little bit of time together. Same thing. We're doing something as we chit chat and catch up about the day or the weekend or whatever that is. And I think that's good. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's one of our favorites. That's what we like to do, is for the same reason as we can just go, especially if you're at the lake, you could just go drop in, paddle around for sunset, and then come back and go home. And it's so easy, and it's, it's good. That's a good one. Influential people to you. Let's talk about this. So who are those women in your life that have really impacted you greatly through your years?
I definitely had some great bosses when I was younger. I got into marketing, like kind of fell into it. I didn't decide what I wanted to do like right out of high school. So I started working downtown as just like receptionist, ended up at a design and technology college, and I was reporting to the marketing manager. So like I was the internet coordinator.
Okay.
Back in the day when,
that was its whole little like hub on its own.
So like the leads for the college would come in and I'd have to type them in, the internet leads.
Okay.
So I had to type them in. So she, as the marketing manager, kind of like took me under her wing and, made the connection of like, here's how we're getting these people, like we're doing the marketing and then the leads come in, and just worked with me. And, I was able to just like learn that connection. Started going back to school at that point, got on track for a business degree with marketing concentration. And then she went out on maternity leave and trained me to do her job, like be acting while she was out. And I just had this like feeling she wasn't going to come back. And sure enough, she came back for a week and wanted to work remotely. And they were like, no, because at the time that was not as much of a thing. And so continued acting, marketing manager for a couple more months. And then they gave me the job. So, I mean, because I was on track for a degree, so that was good.
Absolutely.
I made a good call at that time. And then in that same company, I ended up, going to the corporate office and taking on more schools like across the U.S. But I had a vice president that I worked for, and she was the one who like pushed me to have those hard conversations. And also just to be honest, like I was married before, and at that time I was going through a divorce and finishing up like my last 3 months of my bachelor's degree. And when I started to work for her, and I just was like, hey, I'm going through a rough patch. I just want to tell you, like, I'm not a flaky employee. So like, please just like, work with me. And she was so understanding. And like we even became friends, but like, she was the one who was like, did you have that hard conversation yet? Did you have that hard conversation?
Ooh,
Did you have that hard conversation? And I learned a lot under her to just like have those hard conversations. And that's when like it switched in my brain that you're helping them by having those hard conversations. So like get over yourself, have the conversation.
That's really good input.
Yeah. So professionally, I would say those are like the two people that, made big differences in my life. And then I already touched base a little bit on Melinda Gates, but celebrity wise, I feel like the other person that, Joyce Meyer, I don't know if she's an evangelist, female evangelist. But she just made Christianity so like normal, I guess you could say.
You don't have to be this crazy, like door to door preaching to everyone person, like you said earlier, which I think was the perfect way to say it. Like you can make it yours. Yeah. That religion is yours to do with as you wish. And that faith and how you treat that is how you treat it. And it can be your own. Yeah.
It was like, she just went through so many things, like she was abused as a child, and like the stories she talks about, like even one of them I just remember, she'd be like, oh, I'd leave church and I was a smoker at the time, and I would go in my car and scoot down and like smoke my cigarette. And it's just like, you're not going to hell if you smoke a cigarette. You know what I mean? Like she just, and also she was, again, like, it wasn't always accepted to be a female evangelist. Like we were not supposed to be female and, preach. So she had to like overcome that adversity in her life. So, she just was like, her stories and the stuff, like just kind of grounds me, just kind of gets back to like, you're going to mess up and that's okay. And she always says, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm glad I'm not where I used to be. And
Ooh,
I just
that's a good one too. Yeah.
Like, I love that one. Like it's always a journey where we're always growing. Like, I don't know if there's ever a destination. You're just really always on the journey,
And everybody always says, and I don't think anyone understands it until later in life, enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy the ride. But that's exactly why, is because do we ever get there? We don't know.
No,
it depends on what that is for you and at what age you live and all of those. There's so many factors. So it really can't be about that thing you're going to get to. It's got to be about what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some older generations that were just raised. That's what you do. You just work your butt off all your life until you retire, and then you get to enjoy it. And it's like, I think there's so many people now that say, that's a little crazy because that's 60 years of just working really hard and going to school and doing what you're supposed to do to enjoy 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And how do we enjoy that ride or that journey as much as we can along the way too? I think we should try to enjoy it equal amounts.
Well, yes. And I feel like that's like some of the things I always talk about with David, because he can be so intense. And I'm always just like, we work too hard to be stressed out all the time, we gotta do something. And like, that's where I want my kids to see me as like, I just have moments where I just purposely act like a goofball. And it's like, not even like who I am, but like, okay, like I'm going to put this stupid hat on and dance around just because like, and my daughter like rolls her eyes at me, and Nash loves it, but like, she's kind of, too cool at this point in her life.
Yep.
But like, she needs to see that it's okay to, just
have a little fun.
Yeah. For St. Patrick's Day and, wear some green, girl. It's going to be all right.
Let's not take ourselves too seriously because life is too short.
Yes.
And I think our husbands would get along really well. My husband is very much the same, and I've made him a lot more, fun. He's going to kill me for saying that, but he's a fun guy. But I just think same thing. He was brought up that like exactly that way. You have to work hard to get the things you want, and then usually you'll just die after that. So just and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, you got to enjoy life a little bit. Let's have some fun. Let's dance in the kitchen. Let's what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Let's grill something awesome. Let's make something new. Let's just not stress about the stuff that we don't have to stress about and enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah.
Or else it'll be gone before you know it. Yeah. And you'll regret that for certain. What role does mentorship play in your life? Do you mentor? Do you have mentors? And is that something that you've experienced, and how?
Again, I would say those two people were mentors in my life. I do mentor.
Absolutely.
We actually have a mentorship program at North Shore.
Oh, I didn't know this. Tell me more. Okay.
So, people had to apply for it. And then, the mentors had to apply for being the mentor. But it was kind of like a meeting with, the person I was assigned to, like once a month, just talking about their goals. I feel like one thing that people miss all the time as a professional is like advocating for yourself to a certain extent. Like there's a lot of times where like, I did a good job. How come nobody saw that? And I'm like, cause they're dealing with 8,000 other things. So like, how can you advocate for yourself? And I feel like that was like one of the topics that I talked with her about. And, okay, you're kind of mentoring this other girl, this other person in your department. So why don't you send your manager an email and just be like, hey, just let you know, this is what me and so are working on. And she actually has been promoted since working with her, which is great. Well. And we still are getting coffee next week, Good. But it's just kind of those things that you can do to like, you got to kind of remind people above you that this is what I'm doing. Not, and
you can do it in a way that's really palatable and not hard for you, but gets you the reaction that you're hoping for.
Yes. And then the other thing that I always like focus on is like when you're managing down, like you need to, like everyone's different. Everyone hears different. Everyone learns different. So like figuring out who your people are, but also like you kind of got to manage up. So like figuring out, like what your boss needs from you. And like, there's times where Denise, she and my boss will ask her to do something. And like over time, I'm like, girl, you just have to like send her an email and be like, I did this thing. And Denise is always like, but I did the thing. Like, why she should trust that I'm doing it. I'm like,
This is a conversation we have too.
Just shoot her an email. And like over time, she's like, so I just have to email her. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Like you just have to learn the people above you. And like, it doesn't click for them. Everyone's got 8,000 things going on, whether no matter what role you're in. So, you know, just, you got to learn to advocate for yourself.
Well said.
So the other thing that I do with mentoring is like a lunch buddy program through our Greater Good.
Okay.
And so it's just, for 3 years now, it's been since she's been in first grade, just go and have lunch with her at her school once a week. So
I've not heard of this, but I love this.
Yeah.
I think more should do this. Could you imagine having that when you were a kid?
Yeah. Just like
talking to an adult that's just going to listen and want to learn about me. Cause it's the same. If we grew up in those seen, not heard days, no one heard you.
Yeah.
And it stunk.
Yeah.
So now you can have someone hear you. That's not mom or dad or grandma. It's an adult.
Yeah.
That's
and it was
amazing.
like one of those things where I was like, okay, I feel like I need something more than, you know, like I need something for me. And again, it's not a huge time, but it is kind of a huge time commitment.
Okay.
It's only because their lunches are like 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
But like it is once a week. So like there are times where I'm like, even just like having a rough day and I'm like, oh, I don't have it in me to go talk to this girl today, you know?
Yeah.
But like, it was just something that was like, I want to get more involved. I want to do more for the community.
Sure.
And like, this was this little program. So,
and probably by the time you're done, you're probably happy you did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Like same thing. It's like, okay, you made me a little better.
Yes.
I made you a little better. And we're all better for that, for doing this.
Yes. And it's funny because she will, you know, get on my case if I miss a week. So, but just
that's good.
It's like, funny because like I don't like you don't get a lot of background on them.
Okay.
You know, like I knew very little about her, and it's all through the eyes of the child. It really is because like I'm not getting much background. There's times where I'm like, okay, what's like wasn't your mom pregnant? Did she have the baby yet? Or like her telling me like things that may have happened, and like so like I pieced together
like from her life,
like
from her
piecing
eyes.
together like what what's going on. She's got sometimes a million siblings and sometimes not. So like I have to keep track of JoJo and like, the baby and this and that. But yeah, like and in the beginning for like the first 2 years, like even if I tried to like kind of have a conversation, like talk back about like, oh, well, my daughter also blah, blah, blah. Like she would just often, but now she's in third grade. So she's like, oh, and how was your summer? You know, it's like, oh, okay, now we're talking about me, but
I
like
love
took 2 years for it to be like,
isn't that so interesting?
So it's like, you're still, again, all through the eyes of a child. It's been, there's days where like, I think I showed her a picture of David recently and she was like, I didn't think he'd look like that. And I was like, "Whoa, what did you think?" He's like, "I don't know, maybe darker hair." But it was just
it's
like
just not what she had in her mind.
3 years, and like this is the first time where she was just like,
And is the plan to kind of follow that through fifth grade? Is that plan like? Do you know what the future of that looks like?
I think the program itself actually, like at a certain point, turns into like a big brother, big sister.
Oh,
piece. Great. At this point, I'm like, I've been with her 3 years. I could never leave her until she's done with me. But yeah, like you just basically the beginning of each year, she'll reach out. Natalie from Greater Good will be like, you still want to continue the program? And I'm like, yep. And we pick a day. And, like I work with the social worker there just to like let her know if there's a day that I'm missing for whatever reason or, vacation meeting comes up. But yeah, it's fun.
That's really cute. I had no idea. And what advice would you like to give to women who are struggling to find that balance or feeling like they're falling behind in that professional or personal life? If you think about Tricia, before Tricia had all of these solutions and these ways and this way to kind of become her own person and these things that you've worked on through the years. But prior to that, Tricia, what would you tell that person or what would you give advice? What advice would you give to those others that might be struggling similarly?
Pay attention. Like, I feel like every role that I had throughout my career, there was like this piece that I was like, okay, if I just hang in here, like this is gonna pan out for me. Like
you're looking ahead and you're kind of seeing the whole picture and like, the layout.
Mm-hmm, again, when I was the internet coordinator, like my boss was not nice to me. She, there was like two other girls on the team, and she actually like worked me to the point of like getting carpal tunnel at 19.
Girl.
But like
Jeez.
she was I knew she was doing things that were like unethical. Like they would go get like Dunkin' Donuts culottes and like add vodka to them.
Oh,
and
goodness.
like things like that. And I just was like, this is like, I just kept, digging in and getting, she would give me unrealistic goals compared to the other girls on the team. And I just hung in there, and she ended up getting fired for giving herself permission to the VP's email and telling people about it. So
dear.
From there, like I then was promoted to her role. And
sure.
Again, with what I talked about, like the marketing manager and like taking kind of like having the feeling she wasn't going to come back from maternity leave. But like, I was like, okay, I need to get on track with this degree. And if I wouldn't have done that, I probably wouldn't have gotten that position.
Yeah, you have this sense of kind of forward looking that is really, really strong. And I think you're right. Like if you read the room and you're paying attention to who does what and who doesn't do what and who does something wrong and what spot is needed, then suddenly, you could be in that spot if it's needed and you can do all the things. So just keep an eye out, pay attention, watch what others are doing, watch what needs to be done. Always want to be the one that comes early and stays late and all that hard stuff. If that's where you want to be, that's how you get there.
Yeah. And I was definitely that person many times in that company. I mean, at one point, someone left and I was like the only one there, and I was working 8 to 8 to cover the desk. But so it's like hard work, but again, it's like taking advantage of opportunities, again, paying attention. I mean,
because you got to pay attention to even see them.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like even coming to North Shore, like when I married David, I was like, I'm never drinking the juice. Like, all work there. Like, his mom worked there at the time. And
his aunt
not happening.
owns it like so much.
Yeah. But I mean, I was driving to Schaumburg, because I came from Illinois. So I was like driving to Schaumburg, and I did it for 9 months after Abigail was born. Ooh. And it was just getting exhausting. I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, coming home at 5, like getting up before them, coming home after them. Mm-hmm. And there was David was telling me how they wanted a data analyst. And I was like, I can read data, I'm like, what if we did like a data analyst / marketing person? And so like I put together like a 2-page proposal and brought it to Jan. And she was like looking through it and was like, I think I just want you here for marketing. But like, I jumped in on that opportunity, like you kind of have to, again, advocate for yourself. You have to pay attention, see where there's an opportunity and do the work for it, like
had
do
you
the
not
proposal.
Brought that proposal and just said, well, I want to work here and I want to do marketing, or I'll do that job, it would have probably either not panned out or not been what you wanted it to, which was really a great fit for you, but you had to do the work and you had to kind of step in and get a little uncomfortable. Yeah.
I mean, even getting my master's degree when I did, like that created more opportunity for me within North Shore.
Yeah.
You would think being the CEO's wife would be like a good thing, but it's really not. Like I do not get favoritism at all.
And it always gets taken home. Dang it.
Yeah. So I had to like that, like going back and getting my degree helped me, like again, show people like I do know what I'm doing. You guys don't have to be the only one carrying this weight. And, opened more doors for me, like with, again, the branding and the buildings, just like doing more within the company that's outside of just the scope of what people see marketing to be.
Yes. And you're putting so much of that on your own plate versus someone asking you, which shows everybody that you're really working hard. You're moving forward. You're trying to grow in any role you have. And I think for anyone, even if you're not married to the CEO, they like to see that, right? Yes. And probably even more so if you are married to the CEO, you have to do even more work. So I think it's something that people respect a ton. And the forward look is really smart. I think you're right. Looking back, I did that some and it worked for me, but it's not something I think about often, but you're right. It's really important.
Yeah.
I like that. So for this year, for All About the Girls part 10. So this is the 10th anniversary of our event. And for the 10th anniversary, we're bringing back an old theme. It's my favorite theme that we've had in all the 10 years. And that is Dear Me, advice you'd give to a younger self. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a younger Tricia? And what age is that, Tricia?
So I would probably say my age would be like, so I married David at 30. So like right when we were newly married. The advice that I would give to myself is to like advocate for yourself like sooner. I mean, again, David has a strong personality. I have other people in my life who have really strong personalities, and I like look up to those people. Like I respect them,
of course.
But unfortunately, there's times where that like made me kind of like resort back and like not
revert in
and not like stand up for myself. So like just the advice I would give is it's okay to advocate for yourself, and like ultimately there's a stronger outcome when you do that.
Yes.
Again, it's the same way as I'm giving advice professionally. Like I feel like I was able to do that professionally, but I wasn't always great at that in my relationships because like so like I pride myself on being like someone who's a little bit more patient and like not reactive, but like it's not always easy to do that when you've got stronger personalities that are surrounded by you, and you need the strong personalities and you need people like me. So I would just tell myself to remember that it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes and like make sure that I'm strong in who I am so that I can, get out what needs to be said. Cause like, that's important. Like, yes, they can say, they're going to say what they're going to say, but like, you need to say it too.
Yeah.
And
you
can
need to
still
have
do
your
it
opinion.
respectfully.
And yes, absolutely. And just because that person has a stronger personality than maybe yours, that doesn't mean that you don't have a say.
Correct.
And you do get to have a say, and your say is just as important as the louder voice in the room. And just because it's not as loud does not mean anything outside of the volume. And that really is true in all cases. And so I think that's great. That's well said. Very well said. That's probably good advice for me too. I wasn't always the loudest person in the room. What is currently bringing you the most joy in your life?
100% my children. They're like at such great ages. And again, they're both very different. Like Abigail is my girl, but she's very much like David. So it's just funny seeing her just like kind of fight with him a little bit and stand up for herself.
She's doing that whole thing.
Like I just like learning and growing in gymnastics. It's funny. She's not a Swiftie anymore, but like her first like big like celebrity person that like she was looking up to was like Taylor Swift, and she became a Swiftie a little bit. And I know that's controversial for people, like whether they like her or not, but like it made me kind of like look into her like as a and she really dealt with a lot throughout her life and had to, again, advocate for herself in a male-dominated world. And I was like, what a great mentor for my daughter to be looking up to right now. And she's like Abigail is like a mini feminist.
Okay.
Like,
I love that.
Yeah. Like she, so funny story. I drive my daughter and her cousin Cameron to school every day. They're in the same grade. And Cameron was talking about how he had to do laundry this weekend and all of his chores. And my daughter was like, yeah, when I get older, he's going to do the laundry. And Cameron's like, who's he? And I just like started chuckling because I knew exactly what she meant. Like she was like, I'm like, Cameron, she means our husband's going to be doing her laundry.
Her husband is who she's referring to. She already has one in her brain and he's doing the laundry.
So it's just funny kind of having her, come into her own and, be a little mini feminist.
I love
like
this.
Standing up for herself already at 12. And then my son is 10, almost 11, and he's got kind of more of my personality. Like he knows when I'm stressed. He gives me like 100,000 hugs a day. But like they're just at those ages where they're again becoming like little humans, and like they hear you, but then they're also like figuring out what they want and just the
kind of getting a little more independent, thinking on their own a little bit, developing some opinions. And,
And it's like, so again, like after like reading that book and like taking all of this a little less seriously, honestly, like calming down, I've just been able to just enjoy those moments with them and enjoy whatever every day brings, whether it's we're fighting over something or you're grounded, or like, hey, what are we doing this weekend? It's cold.
Yeah.
There's, like, we're going to sit in the house. We're going to play a game. We're going to, like, what do we want to do here? So yeah, 100%.
That's fun. It's got to be fun to watch them kind of grow up and become their own little adult self. And it's just neat. I bet that's really fun to watch. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for the speed round?
No, this is where my brain's just going to break and fall out.
I think you're
I'm
going to do
not good under pressure.
So good. And they're fun. So it's okay. Oh, sorry. Don't yell at me, Cammie. I just hit the mic. All right. So I got the buzzer here. I know we got these beautiful new mics, but it's not always audibly, you can't always hear the buzzer. So I have fixed that. We will make sure you guys can hear the buzzer. It's so obnoxious, so we might as well. All right. So the game goes, you've got 5 seconds to answer each of these quick response questions, or you get buzzed. And they're all pretty lighthearted. So if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what meal would it be?
Probably like zucchini bread.
Okay.
I know it's not really a meal, but like, it's so like,
it's perfect,
warm and comforting. And I get a little chocolate and I feel better that there's zucchini in it. So.
Yes. A little green, a little chocolate. That's what we need. What's your spirit animal?
Maybe a goat.
Yes.
Are they like supposed to like kind of represent stability and resilience
and like
but then
wiseness,
they're also
right?
like
I don't know.
Fun and goofy. And,
they are.
Like
they're
two sides to
perfect.
them.
Playful, but secure.
Like climbing the mountain, right? Yeah.
I've seen that. It's insane. I don't even understand how it works.
We have them and they're fun.
I love that. I like the juxtaposition. I like that little, like, we can still be a little fun and I'm still fantastically intelligent. If you could swap lives with any fictional character, who would it be?
Anna Kendrick from Pitch Perfect. Like the Pitch Perfect movies.
Such a good answer.
Like, those are our favorite, mine and my daughter's like favorite movies. We love them.
They're so fun.
They're just fun.
Yes. Same thing. It's just that fun character. Yeah. What's your favorite smell in the whole world?
Oh, I don't know, maybe baked goods. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
Like
that big zucchini bread coming out of the oven.
Yep.
Yeah. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's your most used emoji?
Either like the shrug the shoulders or like smack the
Face
head.
palm. Yes. I think those are mine as well. What's one talent that you wish you had?
I would love to be able to sing.
Oh, that's a common one.
I do not sing well.
Everyone that listened to the Lifer multi interview, that was probably, I think, the one that was said. I don't even know if there was candidly another one that people said, but almost everybody said that except for Aubrey, who can sing. And I gave everybody different questions. So not everybody got that one, but we've decided that Aubrey, who works here and can sing very well, is going to teach us all to sing. And then we're going to use the skill to go caroling at Christmas. So if you want in, we're building a club.
I actually had a dream when you first asked me to do this.
Really?
That it was like an event and we had to get up and sing a karaoke song before we got to, I think I was combining David's award and this. And it was like a we had to go and like sing a karaoke song before we got our award.
Oh, I love this. Let's change the pot immediately.
I have stress dreams. Like
I will never make anyone, but if anyone ever wants to come and sing in the mic on the podcast, I'm here for it, but I won't make them because I'm the same. I can't sing. It's going to just be terrible. I scream, sing on my spin bike. I can't imagine what it sounds like upstairs to my husband because same thing. He can hear me and I'll just turn all the way up so I can't hear me.
Correct.
And I'll just like sprint on the spin bike and I'll scream, sing the song in my ear. And it's like my favorite thing, but I know it does not because he'll say like, how's spinning? That sounded pretty intense down there. You know, he'll say something like that. And I'm always like, I know it's on steroids. It's fine. I don't care. I don't have to hear me. So it's fine. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh,
do you like any of that trash TV?
Not really. Like, I don't know. You had to buzz me on that one.
Buzzer.
I don't know that I have one.
No? Oh my gosh. I love so much trash TV. I don't watch it very often, but I do have like a collection. If I can just watch whatever, it's going to be trashy.
Yeah. Like Schitt's Creek, we watched more than once. It was a good, funny one.
But you're like, I feel like I'm learning quips with that show. So it's almost like a benefit. It's like helpful to me as a person. I
Yeah.
love that show. Yeah. Schitt's Creek is a great one.
Friends is a good one.
Friends is a good one too.
We'll do that one.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. That's, we're revoking the buzz. If you could,
It's gonna be a minute.
yeah. If you could instantly master any instrument, what instrument would it be?
Piano.
Good one. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yes.
100%.
All the time. What's the weirdest thing in your fridge right now?
Seeds.
Okay. That's a weird one. I like that. Yeah. Good answer.
David's always like save seeds and we're going to plant them at some point.
Yep.
They're sitting there forever.
That's okay. Last year, I literally did that. I took the seeds from my bell pepper when I cut it up and I planted the seed and I got bell peppers from it. And I was so excited. And I do not have a big garden like you guys or a single animal outside of a cat, but I love that idea. Like I literally took this seed and made it this thing that grew other ones. I just think the whole idea is so cool. So that's a good one. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Maybe reading minds.
Okay, good one. And what is one word that your best friend would use to describe you?
Overwhelmed. Maybe loyal.
Well, that's a great one.
Dedicated.
That's a great one. Yeah, I like all of those. And it can be overwhelmed. Okay. Yeah. Text her later. Be like, okay, what would you say? And see if you were right. And then tell us.
Nuts. Like, no.
Yeah, nuts. A little insane sometimes. Hey, that's all of us, I think. Anything that we did not mention. Look, technically I revoked the one buzz. So we're here. Anything we didn't mention that you want to mention? Anything about North Shore, yourself, your home life, your career, anything that we didn't talk about that you want to touch on?
I think the one thing that I a little talked about my daughter, but I think just knowing what drives you, like at the why, they always talk about like, what's your why? Like why do you go here? And I think that like, that's why I said like my kids being my joy, like having a daughter right now in this world and like kind of connecting the dots of like what I want to open the doors for her, like what is the example I want to be? What are the doors that I want to open for her? Is just, empowering and inspiring. And
yes,
like
absolutely.
what is it that drives you as a human? What can get you there? What do you want to be?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be. I think we grew up in this stance of like, well, there's a nurse, or you could be a receptionist, or even if you go broad, doctor, police officer, firefighter, nurse, receptionist. It was such this like weird small, and then you get to 18 or 17 and they're like, okay, well, what are you really going to go to college for? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I think helping them find that passion younger will hopefully play into the rest of their life, which will help them find stuff they love.
Yeah.
That's really smart. Good advice.
Thanks.
And how do people find you in North Shore online?
NorthShoreHealth.org for North Shore. If you want to buy a cow, you can go to grazingstates.com. That's our great one. Our website. And then, I'm on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect with me. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been another amazing podcast. Thank you, Tricia, for being a part. You've been a lovely guest.
Thank you.
Connect with Tricia online. Of course, as always, make sure that you are following the podcast, rate and review. And if you have not already, June 12th, 2025 is right around the corner. Get your All About the Girls event tickets. We will see you there and we will be announcing speakers before you know it. Take care, guys.